A couple weeks ago, I made a video going through what I wanted to see in the next generation of X-series cameras. Now that Fujifilm has announced all the details of the soon-to-be released X-H2s at the X Summit Omiya, did Fujifilm actually deliver? Let's find out. A quick note before I get started, these will be very early impressions. So far, I only held the camera 15 minutes in my hands and the memory card slot was taped so that I could not get my own samples back home to look at them in details. If you remember, my top 3 wishes for the next X-series cameras were: number 1, a smart and simple autofocus. Number 2, an expanded 4K video workflow with 6K 30p and 4K 120p. And number 3, a flip and tilt screen a la XT100. So let's start with the autofocus. Definitely the most important area for improvement compared to the XT4. As far as the simple part of my wish is concerned, well, we got no progress there. We still have the same submenus, and on top of that, there is now an additional submenu for subject detection, in which you can select the type of subject: animal, bird, car, bike, or train. You'll notice that people are not part of this list. Face detection is actually still a separate submenu, which is very confusing to me at this stage. In my wishlist video, when I said smart, I meant for the camera to automatically detect the type of subject you have placed in the autofocus box and automatically start tracking it in the most adequate way. We are not there yet. You still need to set the camera the best way possible if you want to get optimal results. However, once you got over this new autofocus system is amazing. Face detection has been wildly improved. Faces that are far away with glasses or wearing a face mask are immediately recognized. If there is a face in the frame, the camera will jump on it without a nanosecond of hesitation. Let me be clear, the change is very impressive. I have been shooting with the XT4 ever since it was released, so that's what I am used to in terms of autofocus performance. And the X-H2s is just leaps forward. Something that is completely new for Fujifilm is that if the face disappears because the person turns around, for example, the camera continues to recognize the subject and sticks to it. You will see some rectangle box that will keep tracking the subject even though the feature is still called face detection. It really looks like what has been implemented is actually subject detection, the subject being a human being in that case. As a result, you get virtually flawless tracking and you gain massive confidence in the autofocus system, which means that you don't need to worry about it anymore. So all your energy is focused on creating the best image possible rather than multitasking while you are trying to overcome the shortcomings of the autofocus system on the fly. If you are a photographer, this is just brilliant. If you are into video, the face recognition works as well as for photos. The detection is as snappy and as efficient, but there is an extra challenge for video. Once you are tracking the subject, you need to do it without pulsing. Unfortunately, I will need to reserve my judgment until I have been able to test this with more lenses. Because I did not have much time to test the camera, I was using it with the XF18 to 120mm f4 lens to try out the lens at the same time I was testing the camera. But the firmware of this lens is clearly far from final, and the camera and the lens were not yet communicating perfectly, which is nothing unusual and perfectly normal, as there is still a lot of time until the XF18 to 120mm f4 lens is released, but it just means I have to reserve my judgment for now. To wrap up point one about autofocus, I would say very promising overall, although I would have preferred to see some simplification of all the settings. I am very optimistic on the photography side, while for now the video side is yet to be confirmed. Let's move on to point two, a 4K workflow in video with 6K 30p recording for my A-roll and 4K 120p for my B-roll. Well, that's a check and a check. I got exactly what I wanted. In fact, I got even more than what I wanted with now ProRes 422 internal recording. You will need to use a CF Express Type B card for this feature, but this is fantastic news. If you have ever tried to edit some X-T4 footage shot in H.265, you know that this codec is the arch nemesis of most computers. So you have to use what is called proxy files, which means you have to lose time creating those proxy files after every shoot, and you can't start working on your edit right away. Being able to shoot ProRes internally makes the proxy creation step obsolete and will make editing videos that much faster and easier. Lastly, regarding video, let's talk about the infamous optional external fan. Using the fan looks actually even worse than I thought. Not only you have two screws to attach, but on top of that, you need to make sure that the camera and the fan are connected to each other electronically to operate. So you need to remove the protection cap from the back of the camera and from the electric pins that are on the back of the fan. A little bit like what you do when you attach a battery grip on a Fujifilm body, if you have ever done that. I 100% guarantee you are going to lose some of those protection caps, and you are going to lose your mind having to remove them every single time. Fortunately, overheating does not seem to be an issue under normal temperature conditions. And the fan has primarily been designed for heavy users and people operating under extreme heat conditions. So most people can just ignore its existence altogether. To conclude about video, this was number 2 on my wish list, and to me, it's 2 thumbs up. Thank you, Fujifilm. Moving on to point 3, a tilt and flippy screen a la XT100. Well, there is not much to say about that, we just did not get it. Which is really a shame in my opinion, because the new autofocus performance is going to be amazing for photos, and the flippy screen is just going to bother me while hand-holding the camera. Why, Fujifilm? Why? Out of the 3 things I wanted, I am optimistic I got 2, with the caveat that video autofocus is yet to be confirmed, which is already great in my book. Unfortunately, while Fujifilm gives, Fujifilm takes. There are a few other tidbits that are some bad decisions, in my opinion. I won't go into the PASM dial versus ISO and shutter speed dials debate, because that's mostly based on personal preference in the end. But let's talk about the 7 custom modes on the dial. Seriously, 7! How are you supposed to remember what settings you stored in what custom mode? The reason why you need these 7 custom modes is because the X-H2s is doing without the photo to video mode switch, and nobody needs 7 custom modes just for photo or just for video. So if you had only 3 custom modes, but that could be customized differently, whether you are in photo or in video mode, that would have given you 6 custom modes total, but you would have had photo 1, 2, 3 and video 1, 2, 3, which would have been much more easier to remember. For example, if you are in video mode, custom 1 could be 6K 24p, custom 2 could be 4K 120p, and custom 3 could be anything like DCI 4K 24p with a film simulation, for example. But that would be your video 1, 2, 3 custom modes. And it would be easier to remember and easier to switch back and forth between your favorite photo and video custom modes, because custom 1 would be your favorite mode in photo and favorite mode in video. So switching the video to photo dial would take you directly from photo 1 to video 1. So directly from your favorite mode in photo to your favorite mode in video. With the 7 custom modes, if you want to go from your favorite photo mode to your favorite video mode, you now have to go from custom 1 to, let's say, custom 5, for example, which is much more cumbersome and makes no sense at all. I really don't understand why they changed these things. That was a brilliant addition to the ergonomics of the X-T4 and GFX 100s. Another weird design decision: the rear dial is not clickable anymore. I use this all the time to check focus. I use it to pitch in and manual focus before shooting, or to zoom directly to the focus area while reviewing images in display mode. Again, I don't understand why they are removing something so useful. If you know which Fujifilm ambassador is giving them such feedback, please tell them to stop. They're just making things worse for everybody. Last thing that is worse on the X-H2s than on the X-T4 is the front dial to change the focus mode from single point to continuous to manual. Now, I'm not allergic to the idea of having a button to cycle through the modes instead of a dial, but the button that they have put in the X-H2s does not cycle. It opens up a menu, and then you have to use the focus lever up and down to select the focus method that you want. They just made it worse for absolutely no reason. This could still be saved if they give you the option by firmware update to use the front button to cycle through the modes rather than open a menu. But given the weird feedbacks they seem to be getting from their ambassadors who advise them on these cameras, I would not hold my breath. All in all, while I find these quirks really annoying, I feel like the improvement in the autofocus department and the additions on the video front are really worth overlooking those pet peeves, so I will be testing the X-H2s in much more details when it comes out next month. But in the meantime, let me know in the comments down below what you thought about Fujifilm's announcements at the latest X Summit. As always, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if not already done, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, everyone.